All right, chapter 9.2, we're going to learn the necessary steps used in graphing a quadratic function. So yesterday we talked just about the general, idea about how we use C as its y-intercept, how we can look at A and recognize how narrow or wide it's going to be. But it moves around a lot more than that, and today we're going to kind of use that to our advantage. But again, today is actually the graphing portion of the notes. Just again, make sure you take good notes and ask whatever questions you need to ahead of time, because asking late does not help you. The graph of a quadratic function is called a parabola. So why must you memorize the formula I'm going to give you? Because if you cannot identify the key value of x, well, if you can't find the key, then you won't be able to walk into the door. So the key x for this problem is negative b over 2a. You need to write that down. You need to memorize that. You need to use it and use it and use it and use it. Anytime they want a graph of a parabola, a quadratic function or a parabola, or they want to know the vertex, or they want to know the maximum, or they want to know the minimum, if you do not know the key, you can't find anything. So make sure you write that down and make sure you try to memorize that. The most common error is forgetting that negative b means opposite of b. So whatever you do, you put the opposite of b on top, and then you double a and put that on the bottom, and that will give you the key x that you are looking for. Once you identify the key x, you will put it into the center of a 5-point chart. Yes, you need 5 points to make this graph, but after plotting those values, you will see your parabola. So if you're looking at the examples, again, this is a quick section of material. It might take as long as the other ones, but it's quick. It's not really something that there's much room to mess around on. So what we do is we recognize that a is 1, right? B is negative 4, and C is 1. And so if x equals negative b over 2a, then we're looking at the opposite of b, which would be 4, over twice a, which would be 2, or 2. Again, the opposite of b is going to be positive 4, and 2 times 1 is just 2. So that gives me my key x. Therefore, you go ahead and make your chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, putting 2 in the middle. Now you surround that 2 with the numbers that would be next to 2 on a number line, like 1 and 0, right? Because 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it's the numbers on a number line. Keep it in order, and it should count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It shouldn't go 0, 1, 3, 5, 7. It should be all in order. From there, you take your calculator and you plug these values into the function. So we will put 0 in for x, so parentheses 0 squared, and the best thing for you to do is type it in the right way first. Minus 4 parentheses 0 using parentheses, plus 1 equals, and we see the answer is 1. Now remember, I showed you how to recall this, and every function has a recall function. If every calculator has a recall function. If you don't know how to do yours, just email me. I'll try to help you out or ask for assistance. So turn those into 1s. You get the answer of negative 2. Turn those 1s into 2s. You get the answer of, looks like negative 3. Turn those 2s into 3s. And again, this saves you at least some time in terms of programming it. We get negative 2. And then turn those 3s into 4s. And you get the answer of 1. Now what you should notice every time you make the graph or table for the graph of a quadratic formula is that the top and bottom should match, and the second and fourth should also match. If that does not happen, that means you messed up, because remember, this is your vertex. It's the middle point. It's the highest or lowest point. We don't know which one it is if you can't visualize it, but here's what I know from using what I know. A is 1. 1 is positive. Positive means happy, which means it should be smiling. It also means that if I use the slope, it should be up 1 over 1 from whatever is going on. So let's see. 0, 1 is here. It means don't go left or right, but go 1 up. 1, negative 2 is here. 2, negative 3 is there. 3, negative 2 is here, and 4, 1 is here. But notice, up 1 over 1, up 1, back 1, so that trick still kind of works. C is 1, which means it should cross at 1, which it did. And again, all you have to do from there is attach it. Now on your Math XL, if you're asked to graph one, you simply go to the graph. Instead of picking the line shape, you actually pick the parabola shape, and you only have to really plot this and this because it connects the rest of it. For some reason, it does all the work for you. But again, just make sure you know how to make the table, because chances are I don't have you graphing it. I have you making the table just to prove you know what's going on. So the vertex is 2, negative 3. This is a minimum. All those things are important for you to know. But everything revolves around I had to find the key x, put it in the middle, surround it, plug it in, and get the numbers that I need. A in this case is -2. If you remember from before, B is attached to x. There is no x, which means B is 0. And C is 4. The general idea is that if B is 0, then your key is 0, because if you remember, x -b over 2a, and anything 0 divided by anything is going to be 0. So even if I double that to be 0 divided by -4 and did all that work, it's going to still be 0. Which means, again, 0 is going to be my middle point. Now we surround that with -1 and -2, also with 1 and 2. And so we now take our calculator and we type those things in. So it would be -2 parentheses -2 squared. Don't forget the square like I did earlier. Plus 4, which gives me -4. Then I turn my -2 into a -1. Which gives me 2. Then I turn my 1 into a 0, or -1 into a 0. Here you want to use the delete button because we don't need the negative, so hit delete and then 0. And you get 4. Turn your 0 into a 1, and if everything is right, I should get the same as I got before this, which again tells me I got it right because I got a 2, which means those two match, which means I can pretty much assume that the last one would be 4, but it's good to be safe and just be, type it all the way in without cheating too much. I mean, it's not really cheating, but if you type this answer in wrong and you get that answer wrong, what happens is it's a way for you to check. If I don't get the same answer, I know I messed up. If I don't get the same answer, I know I messed up. Well, what some people like to do is just copy that answer and copy that answer. But what if I typed in one of those two things wrong? It'll throw everything off. But anyway, knowing that our vertex is 0.4, knowing that A is negative, which means that it is sad, which means it should be opening down. That's what we should expect. And it should be going down 1 over 2 in the end. Let's just see. -2, -4. So back 2, down 1, 2, 3, 4. -1, 2 means back 1, up 2. 0, 4 means don't move left or right, but do go 1, 2, 3, 4 up. 1, 2 means go over 1 and up 2. 2, -4 means over 2, down 4. Check out what I just said. Down 2, over 1. So that still works. Notice my y-intercept should be 4. This does cross the y-axis at 4. So everything is as it should be. Everything makes sense. That is your graph of the quadratic function. So you won't be graphing everything, but you will be using the properties of the key to make sure you understand what's going on. So when you see a question that simply says, what is the vertex of the parabola? Guess what the vertex is found by? The key x. So since the vertex is based off of the key x, you don't need to make the chart, but you still need to find your key x, and you still need to plug it in. But again, you should write that down for yourself. So we will say A is -6, B is -60, and C is 11. Your key is -b over 2a. I suggest you write it every single time. -b is going to be a +60. 2 times -6 is -12, which means my key is -5. I don't need a calculator, but you can verify that for yourself if you want to. So I now take my -6 parentheses -5 squared minus 60 parentheses -5 plus 11, and I see what I get, which is 161. So my vertex is -5 because that's your x, comma 161 because that's the y that results. Again, take the -5, plug it in. Whatever you get is your y. This is my key x, which I put in for x. That would be the vertex. So the good news about vertex questions is that you don't need to do extra work. You simply find the key, plug it in. Well, here's the thing. Looking at the next one, what is the minimum value of a parabola with this equation? Well, guess what the minimum is found by using? The key x, which again means I have to find the key. So we'll go A equals 3, B is -96, C is -15. So we do our x equals -b over 2a, which would be a +96 over what, 6? Because twice a is going to be 6. 6 goes into 9 once, which leaves that, I think it's 16. Yeah. So that's my key X, but that's not the minimum. Remember, minimum is up or down, and the y-axis goes up or down. So 16, it leads me to the value for y, but 16 is not the value for y. So my minimum value is going to be from taking 16 and plugging it in. So 3 parentheses 16 squared minus 96 times 16 minus 15, which gives me the answer of negative 783. You don't need an ordered pair because the ordered pair would be the vertex. They want to know what the minimum value is for y, not what the x value is. They just want to know what is the lowest that this graph is going to touch. And again, in terms of up and down, your y-axis goes up and down, so negative 783 is as low as this will go. All right. And just to show you, let's plug in 15. Notice that's not as far down as negative 783. Let's try 17, which is on the other side of 16. And notice you get the same thing. So what we found is the vertex, which means that this has to be the lowest. It goes down, or it's either the lowest or the highest, depending on the shape. But again, based off of this, since this is smiling, that means this is a ditch, which means that this would be the lowest point of the graph. All right. And then the last kind of question you're going to see again using this key is just something like this. The path of an object is given by this formula where x is the horizontal distance because x goes this way, and y is the height because y goes this way. It wants the maximum height. Again, height is up. But again, maximum and minimum is found by using the key x. So we will say A is negative 0.3, B is 3.6, C is 4. I would make, even though we don't use C, I would make a habit of writing A, B, and C. You'll figure that out later in terms of how important that is. But again, A is negative 0.3, B is 3.6, C is 4. So what we're going to do now is make sure that we do our formula. So x equals negative B over 2A, which would be negative 3.6 over 2 times 0.3 is 0.6. What I learned doing math a long time ago is that whenever you have decimals in both, you can move the decimal over the same amount, which makes negative 36 over 6, which is 6. Now remember, that is not the maximum. That is how far over it goes before you reach your maximum, because maximum is up and down. That means we now have to take our calculator and plug in the key x, which is 6. Oops. Plus 4. So negative 0.36 squared, 6 times 4, all right. And we get the answer of 14.8 is your maximum height. And again, just to prove it, let's look at 5. What happened at 5 feet in front? 14.5 isn't the same as 14.8. So again, there's no, if I go past 6 and choose 7, 14.5. So what's happening is, remember, it jumps, you hit your max height, and then it's going back down. This is at 6 seconds, which means at 5 seconds you haven't reached the height yet, and at 7 seconds you're headed back down. So again, kind of understanding, you need to make sure, even if you don't master the process, make sure you master the understanding of what's going on and how parabolas can be used to your advantage. Finding the maximum value is used by using the key. Finding the minimum value is used by finding the key. Finding the vertex is used by finding the key. Creating a graph is used by finding the key. So if you do not memorize this key function, don't come asking me questions about what you're doing wrong. If I ask you what the key function is and you can't tell me negative b over 2a, then you know why you can't get it, because if you cannot find the key, you will get nothing right in this whole section. So again, make sure you practice that. Make sure you take heed to my advice. Other than that, I think you should be okay. Talk to you later. Good luck.